Joining us to discuss this and much more is Victorian Liberal MP Renee Heath. Renee, great to have you here on Outsiders. So we do get a lot of mileage out of the Victorian Liberal Party. What's the state of play at the moment in the Victorian Liberal Party, Renee?
Look, John's office obviously has had some shifts in staffing, but that really is a matter for his office and his office alone and not for the Liberal Party at all. I think there's a lot of talent in the Victorian Liberal Party room, but at the moment, you know, John's doing a good job and we're behind him.
That's the very political answer, exactly what I would expect, Renee. That's fantastic. Rita?
Yes, we'll leave that for we'll come back to, if there were hypothetically to be a leadership challenge.
That's right.
Who Renee might
But
back.
my support is
the coach has the full support of the board.
Exactly.
But I do want to ask.
I don't deal in hypotheticals, Rita.
But let's talk about the state of the Victorian budget, because Victoria does have the highest state debt by some margin, and just this week we learned, Renee, that has got even significantly worse. There's been a $12 billion blowout in a debt that's already around, $120-odd billion. What are we going to look forward to? A very high taxing, high cutting budget?
I think so. Victoria's debt is at record highs and it has been for quite some time, and the Victorian Labor government has done absolutely nothing to deal with it. Their way is big projects, big spending, big taxes, and it doesn't look as if that's going to change anytime soon. We've been putting a lot of pressure on the government about their irresponsible spending. I think one of the areas that everyone's talking about is the Suburban Rail Loop. Jacinta Allan really needs to take a stand on that. We do not have the money to be spending on projects like this. I fear that if we continue down this path with big construction projects and big budget blowouts, Victorians' critical infrastructure like health, education and roads are going to continue to deteriorate, and we are in a real crisis.
James?
Well, Renee, the question I guess I would have looking at Victoria from New South Wales here is, the state is broke, but you've seen the leader go back and forth on treaty and a whole lot of other things that just seem like, there's not a lot of intellectual, ballast there in terms of where the party is different to Labor. And what would voters in Victoria get differently in terms of, let's say, economic management, crime, which is a huge issue? Would the Liberals in power have, a real point of difference on these things, or would it just be sort of a light version of the same? Because I think a lot of people are concerned that at the moment, that's where a lot of the party room is.
Look, we haven't released our policies yet, but the Liberal Party has always been the party of strong economic management, and we haven't ever stepped away from that. In terms of the treaty you mentioned, I was delighted to see that that we've walked away from that. We are not supporting the treaty anymore. I think that there was a huge change after the referendum, and I think the Victorian Party has listened, because it was a huge no vote in Victoria, and we responded to that and walked away from the treaty. I think that's something really exciting to look forward to.
No, Renee, that is terrific. I absolutely agree with you. But it's better, if you want to get into government, you have to lead. You should have been leading the no vote, not following the no vote. But can I just ask, Renee, on a topic I hear from a lot of Victorians about, you've got these windmills being planned by Crispo and all up and down some of the most beautiful beaches in Victoria. Where do the Liberals stand on opposing this? Are you opposing the windmills and all the net zero madness?
Well,
Or are you going to wait to follow? Are you going to wait to follow? Which is it going to be, lead or follow? Sorry.
Well, I can only speak for myself, and this week I did abstain from the vote with the new energy targets, because I do, there's always going to be a vast difference of opinions within the Liberal Party. That's who we are. I personally am there to represent the Eastern Victoria region, which is a region that has been obliterated by Labor's green policies. So I did take a stand on that one this week, because because we've had closure of industry, we've had the energy industry, which provided an amazing amount of jobs in the Latrobe Valley. Labor promised us a transition to renewables. We haven't seen any, and that's been 15 years. Also, we've had the closure of the native timber industry, which has obliterated even more communities. And now windmills solar panels, whatever it is going to begin to cannibalise farmland. And I think that is something that's worth taking a stand on.